Yo, 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 what's good, YouTube? What's good? It's STORMYBMAN, and I am back welcoming you to the post-fight show with STORMYBMAN for this Saturday, August 7th, 2021. And we are here for the post-fight for Stanionis and COLLAZO, the PBC on Fox fight card, and we will also talk a little bit about the DAZN card that saw us view the fight that took place between Galahad and Dickens. Yeah, so salute to everybody that's out there. Please smash the like button as you come in and show a little support in that manner, please. We will discuss everything that we can for as long as you guys want to do the rundown on this. This is a very disappointing evening for boxing, including the main event, the way everything wrapped up, the fight that took place before the main event. And I'm sure everyone has some sour grapes off of this. Now, it was still a full afternoon and evening of boxing, but once again, boxing has chosen to get in its own way with these despicable judges and the decisions that are being made ringside with officials, with referees, doctors, and everything. I mean, we're seeing it so much, people, that I'm a little dejected myself off of this evening's events. And I'd like for us to all talk about it, because at this point, that seems to be the only thing we can do at the very moment is talk about it. But we should also be able to have an impact with our discussion as we go forward talking about these matters. And we definitely need to come to some type of resolution because what's going on currently is just not working, people. It's just not working. Let me start with saluting people out there in the chat. We had Vern Davenport Jr. out there says, the hardest thing to do is watch these judges take the victory away from a fighter. Boxing is losing a 30-year fan of the sport. This was disgusting. I agree. Loco Sports, my brother is out there. He says, salute to you, Loco. Thank you for stopping by. I know it's getting a little bit late past your bedtime, but I'm sure you probably can't sleep after they ended the evening up with such a stink fest, huh? And we have to call it for what it is, man. When we can praise boxing and the fighters and the event makers and promoters when it's done the right way. But when they get in the way, we have to talk about it. We have to say those things. If it requires shaming them, let's do it. If it requires putting them on Front Street where we discuss them and pull the curtain back and let everybody see them with their pants down, because that's exactly what they've done, particularly on this night, following up most recently on some other events that has been, something that we've been seeing more and more and more. Salute to Mark Casey out there. He's giving the fist bump. And channel member Eric Jenkins is out there. He says salute. Eric Jenkins, since I see you as the first channel member in the chat this evening for this show, I want to give you a reminder, if you didn't see the reminder, that I did a Kung Fu Film Focus for members only. And that aired earlier this afternoon. There was a reminder that went out on the main community page. But if you haven't had a chance to check it out, please do so. And the rest of the members, as you fall in, hopefully you hear this message, go back and check that out. New visuals and everything. I kind of made it a little special for you guys. So, and it was done for members only purposely, because that's sometimes when you create the content for your members who join, you have to put something aside specifically for them to help keep the engagement and the support going. Kenneth Johnson is out there, also channel member. Salute to you as well, Kenneth, the resident medic out there. Boxing Conversations with Reggie Owens is out there. He says, salute my peoples. Reggie, things are open if you are able and willing to join for this evening's show. I didn't know whether or not you would be available. Eric R is out there, says salute at STORMYBMAN. And Loco Sports says, man, the kid got robbed in broad daylight, no ski mask. And Eric Jenkins says, yes, sir. Loco, I was listening to you as well. And I was listening to the brother KQKC. I didn't see Reggie on the air this evening, so I wasn't able to track him. But I try to listen and support the brothers in the community that call fights and everything and get different takes and perspectives, which works very well because I have the resources to do that now. So I get a chance to listen to a little bit, you know. But I got you, Reggie, on that. Be safe. Loco, this was not just a robbery. This was outright blatant I want to make sure I use the right terminology here. Corruption. Yeah, that's the word that I'd like to use. Outright corruption. And forgive us, people, if we skip over the main event to go back to the co-main, because that's where the drama really kicked in for us. Salute to my brother Scrapbook Boxing out there. He says, what's good with the chat? What's good with you, Scrapbook? Good to see you out there coming in to support the post-fight show. Appreciate you. That's my brother from the Three Wise Men, Scrapbook Boxing. And if you guys want to get made abreast on the 100 great black fighters and champions that Scrap is doing a new series on, go over to his channel and check that information out. He's dropping information daily with these fighters, the modern day champions, and it's really fascinating to see how he's putting things together, and he and Kurt Sugar are working together on that. Back to this co-main event that took place between Gabriel Mastre and Michael Fox. This was a welterweight fight that took place where Gabriel Mastre had an opportunity to participate in the Olympics this year, and he elected to bypass the Olympics for an opportunity at a title shot. Now, this fight was being fought as a interim WBA championship bout. Maestro was given a certain amount of time that he had to make the decision whether or not he was going to go ahead and go for the Olympics for a third time or go for a world title shot. He had failed in 2 previous Olympic attempts. He was in the 2012, he was in the 2016, and then he was going to have that opportunity to go in for this year because they're letting pro fighters, participate. So, with that being said, I'm quite certain someone from the WBA came a calling with heavy influence, suggesting that he take this fight. And it seemed from the very start that they were prepared to go all out to take this opportunity and win. Michael Fox, who had ironically faced the young man, Luke Santamaria, who fought in the previous bout, and he boxed very well. Michael has dimensions that are really rare for the welterweight division. He's 6'3" and has an 81-inch reach, and I think he's like 23 years old. The future of boxing, when you're 23 years old, you have, paved road ahead of you. Now, mind you, Maestro, who's in his 30s, could have gone for that Olympic bid, but he was influenced heavily to take this fight. Let's start with when they came to the ring, okay? Salute to Ricky E. 245 out there. Pull Counter Boxing, I see you. He said, I just finished my live stream. Andrew Charles is in the building. He said, salute Stormy B, man. And Reggie is saying that was the worst robbery I ever seen in my life. Yeah, we'll give you a chance to talk about your opinions there, Reg, when you come on. Andrew Charles says, smash the like button. Appreciate you, bro. Jeff, the producer, is out there. Haven't seen Jeff, the producer, in a minute. He says, Storm. And I say, Jeff. Poor Counter says, he got beat by Raniel Iglesias 3 times, the Cuban who just won gold. Yeah. Before the fighters came together for the referee's instructions, it was discovered that Gabriel Maestro's gloves were not taped properly outside. Okay, let's start right there. The tape was all the way up to the skin of his arm, and the laces under the tape, which usually go around the center portion of the wrist after they tie it back and then they tape it, they were all the way up under the tape. Now, some of you may remember brother Oshaki Foster, who had a bout in late 2020 on the heels of hearing about Glovegate. Okay, I'll just use that term. He and his people were driven to be very cautious with their opponent, and they found that their opponent was trying to use gloves that had been tampered and manipulated, where there was really no protection around the knuckles. And that was during the selection portion of their promotion, the event that he was going to be participating in. And his camp refused to allow the opponent to receive those gloves. This, after much conversation, let's state it that way, over what took place between the rematch fight with Deontay Wilder and Tyson Fury, talking about manipulated gloves. It proved to shine light on a subject that has often gone glossed over, and people not have the opportunity to have an inside track on things that fighters face on a night in and night out basis when they're fighting professionally. When Floyd Mayweather Jr. was fighting Marcus Maidana, when they were going through their glove selection, he discovered the same thing. And he was like, oh, heck no, we ain't fighting with these. What I'm getting at, people, and I see you, Reggie. Give me one moment, Reg. What I'm getting at is this man, Gabriel Maestro, made it from the dressing room where so-called officials sign off on your gloves to the ring. And here it was discovered on live TV in the ring that something was inappropriate. Just like when Tyson Fury was taking on his opponent, when the referee grabbed his glove and saw that the attached thumb on the glove had been detached. The portion that keeps it together had been sliced, meaning that now his thumb was available to be used as a weapon that many fighters have done in the past before they had attachable thumbs. You could thumb a person in the eye, it cause immediately eye swelling, and the eye can puff up and close. But this gentleman, Maestro, the Olympian, and what country was he representing again in the Olympics, people? If I'm not mistaken, and I think very hard, it was Venezuela. Now, I'm not a rocket scientist or anything like that, but the bout that he was fighting tonight was for an interim title for the WBA welterweight. The WBA is based in Venezuela, people. Yeah. So you mean to tell me that this Olympian, former Olympian, was allowed to come past the commission, given par gras, to get his butt in the ring and his gloves not be taped correctly on the outside? We haven't even got to the possibility of inside with hand wraps. But let's just stick to the facts of what we really do know and what we were witness to, because this was on live television. There was a delay while they removed the tape from his gloves and retape the knot of his laces the proper way. Now, I just said that this man participated in 2 Olympics, right? So he has quite an extensive amateur background. And when it comes to the amateurs, you know, you still glove up the same. So what's the stink, Stormy? about the gloves. The stink is where the way they were laced and wrapped, taped. They could have been used on the inside, manipulating those knots and everything. That could cause injury around your face and eyes and things like that. But, you know, this is professional boxing. There's no cheating in boxing, I'm sure, right? I call bullshit on that, because he made it to the ring like this, past the so-called commissioners, the people who sign off. That was before the first bell even rang. Thank goodness that Michael Fox was able to put Gabriel Maestro, on his ass in the second round. It was one of the cleanest, best counterpunch situations that you could have witnessed in a professional bout. In close, short distance punch from a man with a long reach, flush on the chin, that dropped Maestro on his ass. But Maestro got up, though hurt, because he ran into that shot and he was throwing a shot as he got caught with the punch, right? When we got the final scorecards, now I'm not skipping anything, but I'm just making some points here because we can have a discussion on this. When we got the final scorecards, one judge had him up by a point, another judge had him up by a point. But just like in the Jermell Charlo Brian Castano fight, one judge had it again, 117 to 111. For Gabriel Maestro. Now, pardon me and my math, because I've said this before, my math is not the best in the world. But when you knock someone on their ass with a clean counterpunch, and it's not a slip, it's not an illegal blow, it's on the chin. And when you hit people on the chin, that's typically the type of reaction you get. They go down on their ass. Sometimes not to get up. My math says that that's a 10-8 round. So how did the one judge have it 117 to 111 for Gabriel if he was knocked solidly on his ass in the second round? Just think about that for a moment. Just a moment. Now, they usually let us know where judges are from. I would like to know if any of the judges tonight were from Venezuela. If any of them. The way they scored the fight, all of them could have been from Venezuela and been cousins. Inbred first cousins. But let's just think about that for a moment. And I'm going to welcome my partner here for the show, Reggie Owens. What's good with you, Reggie? Come on in and join the conversation. I know I was cooking a little long there, but, you know, once again, the sport has really been taken over by crooks and criminals, and they need to be ostracized and kicked out of the sport. This is why we spoke about taking their names and things of that nature, because it is important. But welcome to the show, bro.
What's up, OG, man? Talk about it, man. During my call of this fight, I had one brother in the chat write this as we go into the scorecard decision, and the brother wrote, Fox should have it by 3 to 4 rounds, but knowing boxing, we'll get a draw. And he puts laugh out loud. And I'm like, man, it was funny because I'm like, they always find a way to ruin a fight, and especially in a fight where Maestro knew he was way down, his corner knew he was way down, they knew they needed a knockout. This dude Fox came in here and put on a brilliant performance. As a tall fighter, he fought the way he should fight, unlike what we see with a lot of fighters with these advantages in height and reach, who bang on the inside. He moved around and he made Maestro look like a 3-0 fighter. Maestro couldn't figure out what to do as this guy moved on him. He got rocked, put on his back. Then we go into these judges' scorecards, and me laughing at that comment put by the brother in the chat. I'm like, man, let's see what these judges gonna pull out. When I hear that first scorecard from this judge, David Singh, I hear 114 worth 13, and I'm like tripping, like, what the hell? How the hell you? And it's unanimous. So I'm like feeling comfortable they giving it over to Fox. But I'm like, how the hell you make this fight a 1-point fight? And he didn't drop this guy. So I'm like, well, at least he counted for the dang knockdown. Otherwise, he's calling for a dang draw. Then he goes with we got John Mariano, 115-112. And I'm like, dang, that's too close. But at least he's counting for the knockdown. It's usually 115. I think the 115-112, 115 scores end up 115-113. And I'm like, well, at least he's making it a close fight here. And then we go into that final card, which was ridiculous to ever get at Maestro, 117-110 from Gloria Martinez. And yeah, they all sound like they could possibly be from Venezuela, with the South American names and the one Indian name. Nothing justified any of these goddamn scorecards. Even if the other two went for Fox, there was no way that fight was that close for Maestro. Maestro faded like a mug in that fight. He had his best moments from round 6 to 7. I mean, from rounds 5 to 7, which was his only moments, as he started to pick up momentum. Then he faded. He faded from rounds 7 all the way to 12. He didn't give anything back. It's like, what the hell were y'all watching? And this is some deliberate robbery to assist some country guy from the country of Venezuela to assist him in a fight and to keep him as an undefeated fighter. But it's bullcrap. And it's something that paints a bad eye on the WBA, on these judges who I've never heard of in my damn life, to come in here and rob somebody in that matter, which was the foulest crap I've ever seen in my life. For a fighter to pull that off, and you get a fighter in here who's known for knockout artists, and see him get in here and get dropped. Watch him in this fight get hurt 1 or 2 extra times in the fight, and just get circles boxed around him, and you rip a guy off like that. 117-110. Where the hell this lady watched a fight like that, and where the hell did these other two dudes watch a fight like that? That they stated was that close, and even to pull off the robbery, they try to make it into close scorecards. There's nothing close about this damn fight. And it's sad. It puts boxing in a bad spot. It puts a bad taste in people who follow the sport, who like to put money on it. You can't even do that anymore because you can't trust nothing to be done fairly within a sport. Nothing in the sport is translating to what people are seeing. We went through an era of boxing with adjusted narrative and agenda-driven patterns in sports commentary, to where now you're seeing judges that are doing rehearsed crap to pulling fights for people, to where now you have it to where damn boxers have to go in here and take unnecessary risks to try to get victories and putting themselves in greater danger into trying to get knockouts so they don't bring stuff to the judge's scorecard. It's BS. It was also something in that earlier fight in the morning from the zone. I was glad that damn Gallahan got the stoppage, because in his last fight against the same guy, they ripped him off. You can't trust none of these fools in this damn game. They put a lot of these fighters at risk, and that mess right there was sad. Michael Fox and them need to go ahead and file up as high as they can to get that defeat off of his dang record. The WBA needs to be looked into, as well as the commissions that missed the thing going on with the tape. And the thing that was funny with this tape is when I'm watching the way in which this guy punches, he was throwing a lot of shots where his wrist was the first thing that landed. A lot of his punches when he swing over some of his hooks wasn't knuckle and glove that landed. It was right on the side of his wrist. He was connecting to the side of Fox's head, and maybe that's the way he's scoring some of his knockdowns. He was clotheslining Fox a lot. He hits like that. And maybe that's the reason behind putting those laces where they had him. And good thing his team caught that crap. And he gloved the guy, and they caught that. But it's some real suspect stuff in this fight, man. This is one of the worst I've ever seen in my life. But that's all I got on that.
Great comments there. And that's not all, because we got to talk about this, man. And forgive us, people, if we don't even get to the other fights, because, you know, this has to be, listen, I've watched a lot of fights. This is one of the worst decisions I've ever seen in my life. Following a situation where they were actually trying to cheat before the fight started. Let's not gloss over that. Before the fight started, they caught something wrong. And I'm sorry, I know these are television analysts and whatnot, but Lennox Lewis and, Joe Goosen, especially Joe Goosen, who has trained men. He had a wonderful fighter in Diego Corrales. And knowing the type of fights and wars that Corrales had been in against top opposition, he knows the tricks of the trade and everything. And this was a time for both he and Lennox to say something. This wasn't the Olympics where you get a bad decision and, you go home and you got to come back in 4 years or whatever. In professional boxing, you're going all out. Your life is literally on the line. Your life is not on the line in the Olympics because there are certain rules in place, where they're supposed to, and I use that carefully, supposed to intervene and have a means of halting. But in boxing, professional boxing, you can get beat to death in that ring. So even before the first bell rang, they were giving this man an opportunity to have an edge, an unfair edge. But that was a distraction. Because the real unfair edge he had was those 3 judges outside the ring. Hindsight being 20/20. How does this happen? The same way that tampered gloves and hand wraps make it into a fight where a commission never catches any damn thing. Never. And then judges finish fighters off with their bull crap. Maestro must have won 2 rounds tops. You might give him 3. But with all of the rest of the rounds being in favor of Fox, plus a knockdown. He easily lost this fight by a minimum of 4 points. A minimum. How can we look at boxing the same after this? And if you notice, the network, they didn't really, that was unfair, that wasn't a good decision at all. But they kind of like soft shoed the whole thing. And I'm sorry, Michael Fox boxed his behind off. Reggie, when you said that Gabriel did some things, when he came on, but did you see this 6'3" young fighter slipping punches, giving angles, sticking the jab, hitting combinations, getting out of the tough spots and tight spots, boxing? And all this guy could do was try to run him down, but he kept running into something. And it was quite unfortunate that it worked out like that for him, because when you see these fighters do what they do, it's like it was no contest there. But these men, these judges, they found a way to say to hell with boxing, to hell with the sport. Viva Venezuela. So you mean to tell me that no matter how hard you train, no matter how pristine your record may be, no matter how talented your skill set may be and everything, that once you get in there and you don't stop the other fighter, you don't knock him out, you could have downed him 10 times. They'll still score it for the other guy if it goes to the scorecards. Are you telling me that's exactly what it is with boxing? If that's the case, then none of us need to ever tune in again. Because they're basically telling us, screw you. We want who we want to win. And that's not anything to feel good about. That's not anything to celebrate. It's really a despicable act. The promoter of this event, PBC, I don't know who runs that show over there, but they really need to come out in the defense of Fox and say, hey, this has to be ruled a no contest. And that young man, Maestro, should not be given an opportunity to fight for the title in his next fight or whatever. But he should be made to fight someone else, and someone better than Michael Fox, I'm sorry. That's what should happen there. He should not be allowed to just go in there. Do you have something else, Reggie?
Yeah, get the WBA in and everything that represents them about this country, or whoever is responsible for the hiring of these judges. If they don't take action on these judges, keep them from coming in this country. Let them be a foreign-based South American, brand of international champions. Otherwise, keep them out of here. To pull off some of this, to bring in set up judges. That's all that was. It's no way no judge is that dang blinded in delivering that approach of Robinson. And I thought they were going to do a Steve Harvey in this one. And almost the same way they pulled that same. Was that the WBA that pulled that crap on Gabe Rosado as well? Or whatever sanctioned body that was when they announced Gabe. I thought they were going to pull some crap like that. And that would have been the right thing to do, to reverse it, be like, oh, the judges made a mistake on the announcement. It was for Fox. And not to even correct that, like, nah, something real as far as investigation into this crap has to be done. If this country wasn't in such utter chaos, Congress can focus in on the sport of boxing. This country is in such disarray that this corruption stuff is allowed to run rampant throughout the sport because no one's putting the eye on what's going on in the sport of boxing. Boxing has a whole list of issues that run in that plague the sport. You deal with fighters that clout chase. You get this new crap fighters do to get out of fights, fake mental issues, fighters that refuse to fight other champions, other fighters looking for the easy route to claim they've been reigning champions. Everybody gets a shot at getting the belt. That's a sanctioned body issue. Then you get to where judges are in here fixing fights for fighters they favor. Will go in here, don't even put on a close enough effort. It'll be one thing if this guy fought a close enough effort outside of just looking for knockouts. That's all Maestro was in there doing. Trying to get a knockout, but wasn't delivering anything. Just like you said, on my scorecard, all I gave Maestro was 3 rounds. In the rounds in which I thought he was swinging momentum, he faded off. He faded off sharply. And he couldn't give anything. This non-power punching fighter in Fox was able to rock him, able to land good shots on him, then started to back him up towards the last 3 rounds of the fight. So it's like, what the hell is these judges watching? Like, what were they watching and who was behind that? There's somebody behind what was going on. Somebody behind. There's somebody with an interest behind Maestro that represents somewhere down in South America. There's some real deep stuff that go on here. And then to watch that bull crap before this fight comes on. Matter of fact, I think what Andrew Charles was saying in the chat was when I was doing the fight, he was saying that this dude Fox was a late replacement. If I understood that right, that this guy was like a 3-week replacement, and he came in here and he shocked these guys because Fox is coming off of if I remember right, Fox is coming off that loss to the guy who Devin Alexander fought.
Right.
So he was brought in here to go. They were really bringing him in here to get knocked out. Right. And it didn't play out that way. He came in here and had other plans, and his team came together with a perfect plan. The box circles around this guy, and that's exactly what they delivered on. And then to not only go in there box circles, but to drop this dude, hurt this dude, take a lot of the spirit out of this dude, confuse this dude. I don't even see how that dude was an Olympian because he couldn't even figure out how to deal with the movement of this. Maybe he's used to being a tall guy or whatnot, but he couldn't even figure out how to cut the ring off on this guy, stop a lot of that movement. But he did start to land to the body. I'll give him that. On Fox, Fox was able to regather himself, catch a second win, and he went right back to work. So this fight was close to where these judges could even like when I thought it was for Fox, 113, 114 was bugged out. I'm like, how the hell you gonna call a fight that close? And this is me thinking Fox won the fight. And then even hearing 115, 112. I'm still tripping. How the hell you gonna call a fight that close? Then I'm like, this last judge got it right. 117, 110 sounded about right. And then for you to give it to this fool who went in there and got played, like, come on, man. This is the most egregious crap, and every single one of these judges should have their pay held. The WBA needs to get serious about it. But then you talk about Venezuela, and there's something deeper. Like when I do these stories on like issues across this country, whether it's racial, always play into demographics and what counties are like, cities are like. When you look at Venezuela, as a country. It's one of the most corrupted countries on this damn planet. And then there you have it. It's a corrupt country. Every country's in turmoil. I don't know what the heck's going on. So any reason of the palm could get any of these dudes to pull up any old corrupted stuff, they will turn a blind eye to it. It's the same way for a lot of these countries. So why allow these organizations that come from countries that are unstable as hell to come over here and set up any type of, how is an organization from a corrupt country allowed to sanction anything in this sport, which is a sport that's trying to clear itself of corruption and organized crime and all that stuff? Venezuela is rough in that crap. Get these fools the hell up out of here, man. I mean, like I said, this is the most bugged out fight I watch as far as a decision. I was proud of the work that Fox put in, and like I stated, Fox, in my book, doesn't have a loss on his record. This damn Maestro dude has a loss, and going forward, it doesn't do anything for him to cheat for him. Maestro Maestro is lacking. And he's too caught up in being this knockout punching artist. And now it's been discovered what he tries to do with the nodding of the gloves under tape. That's been exposed. Like, I mean, it's some way out stuff, Stormy. Like I say, this mess jacked up the whole night. It was bull crap. And not so much just from the boxers, but from these damn punks in suits who wreck everything, man. But that's my thoughts with that. Get the fools out of here, man. Get the WBA the hell up out of this damn country.
Yeah,
even where they can keep being corrupt.
I agree 1,000% with what you're saying. Let me take a quick moment to note my man African G, who was in this super chat. He says, "Salute OG 100," and we appreciate your super chat, man, and thank you for supporting the show and the channel and speaking out in the chat, man. Listen, this is why I said, Reggie, even the other fights that took place, we could talk about them at another time, but this is not something to gloss over. We just 2 weeks ago did a Friday night chop session where we had a section on the show where we talked about the judges and their scorecards and how it's terribly affecting boxing. And that was coming out of the Castaño and Charlo fight that we decided to have that discussion. I still haven't figured out how to edit certain segments and then just post them up so people can hear that portion of what we're talking about. I still need help with that, and I don't know how to do it yet, which is why it hasn't been done. But the sooner that I learn how to do that kind of thing, and because I don't want to put the whole show up for someone who want to catch the segments, and then that's just additional content as well. But what I wanted to say is we just had that conversation about this, and you and I have spoken at length about making sure that we keep names, a laundry list of names of judges who contribute erroneously to scorecards scoring fights. And a lot of them are the same usual suspects, but then like tonight, a couple of more names can get added to the list because, as you said, a couple of those guys, we question where they're from. Who are these dudes? And if listen, why you can't take championship caliber fighters, former fighters, and bring them in to score these bouts? For the life of me, that's never been explained. Men who've done it, who've had to get it out the mud. I'll tell you why. Because it is corrupt. It is corrupt. It is corrupt. It is corrupt. That's the only reason why. it's like antivirus software. Why do you have to get new antivirus every year? Because just like they sell you the antivirus, they got the same people who work on that software who work on breaching the damn same software. The government can come right in on your personal data whenever they see fit, or if they want to bring you down or whatever. So you can pay whatever you pay for Norton and McPhee and all them other companies that antiviral stuff for your laptops, computers, desktops, all of that, Macs and Windows, all of that foolishness. And someone come right in and bloop. Corruption. How would you feel putting locks on your home, alarm pad and everything, and you go to work and somebody come in your door with a key and turn the alarm off on the pad, doop, take whatever they want out of your home to rob you, reset the alarm, lock the door on their way out? Corruption. This is what it is. Seriously. If that fight went the distance, Fox, he was not supposed to win. That was the word that came down from above. But we saw him winning rounds after rounds after rounds and putting the other guy on his ass. We can't deny that. Again, it happened. That's like when Don King and Mike Tyson were trying to overturn the Buster Douglas knockout back in 1990. They went to the commission and everything, and they were like, oh, well, Mike knocked him out first in the 8th round when he dropped Buster. He suffered a long count and everything. Well, Mike was on the canvas longer than Buster was. And at least Buster got up to his feet and was able to walk back to his corner coherent. Mike was so incoherent, he put his mouthpiece in his mouth backwards. And when he stood up, he was in no shape to continue. We all saw it. Yet Don King was still trying to get that overturned. And the only reason he was really working that hard to get it overturned was Reggie. Once again, he went into the fight promoting both guys. He was Mike Tyson's promoter, and he was Buster Douglas's promoter. But a little known fun fact was that Buster, on that victory, that was his last contractual obligated fight with Don King. How's that for justice? Huh? That was his last contracted fight with Don King. That's why Don was taking him to court. That's why Don was drawing it out. That's why the whole thing with him fighting Holyfield, he would have fought Holyfield like 4 months later. But Don King held him up in court with litigations and everything, and he was trying to force Buster to sign a new contract deal and everything. And Buster was like, screw that, Don. You didn't even really want me to have the fight. But I had to fight it because I was under contract. And so when Buster fought Holyfield for $25 million from the Mirage owner, Steve Wynn, he became a 2-time champ. A champ as far as the highest payday in the history of heavyweight fighters or fighters, period. And, you know, even though he lost to Evander, he's still $25 million. And then didn't have to share any of that with Don. God is good. But yeah. So I mentioned all of that to simply talk about the corruption in the sport, man. This is something that, you know, I'm talking about it tonight on the post-fight show here. I'm doing my call-in show tomorrow, and I can cover the other fights on the call-in show. And people can call in and talk about this even more tomorrow. But I feel like if you're a content creator out there, you need to have a voice on this situation. Michael Fox needs your support. He needs your help. He needs you to help him fight this battle. Because he's not the only one. It's just that he's one of the most recent that we've seen the absolute darkest of the corruption happen to. I mean, right there in front of your freaking face. Give us those scorecard numbers again, Reggie.
Oh, man. 114, 113. David Singh. How the hell he come up with that? I would never know. And I hope they make it public that he explains it. Then you got John Mariano, 115, 112. Then we get Gloria Martinez, 117 to 110. How the hell ever she think Maestro earned anything like that? Would never know. But I look at these last names, and that might be the answer to that.
Right. Absolutely. That cannot be ruled out. And that woman with that scorecard, as wide a margin as it was, she should never be allowed in a boxing venue, let alone judge a fight. She should, if there's a fight going down and she thinks she's going to even buy a ticket, she should be denied. Because she doesn't know a damn thing about boxing. Who in the world gave her a ink pen or a pencil or whatever they use to fill out the scores? You know what? I would like them to open an investigation on every fight that she has judged prior to tonight. Because, like I said, I'm not an expert in math. But that 117 to 110 in favor of Gabriel Mastro, that right there, you're talking about he won every single round. He was up in the fight. And we know, as sure as our eyes saw it, he was down in this fight. Literally in the second round. And to make her sit there and tell you why did she not record that knockdown? You have to explain that to me. Because I'm a man of intelligence, I think. That may be open for conjecture, but when a guy goes down from a legal punch, it's scored 10-8 for the guy who knocked the other guy down. Her scorecards are not one iota reflective of her having given Mr. Fox credit for what he achieved. That's cheating. That's corruption. You have ulterior motives. What are you doing here? Get the hell out of this sport today. You can't make me understand. Did you hear the boo birds? Because I know sometimes when you call in the fights, you may have your audio down and everything. But as soon as they announce Maestro as the winner, the boo birds were very active. Why should people spend their money, come out and buy hot dogs and beer from the vendors and everything and come to an event like this to enjoy themselves, and then they have to leave with an upset stomach? Mental stress you put on people. They could have been celebrating a great night of boxing, a great event, going home, well-wishing and whatnot, but you send them home aggravated. You send them home upset. You send them home putting down the sport, doubting the sport, walking away from the sport. For that little dude, he's 30 plus years old. He ain't even going to be around in another couple of years because there's too many people in that division to finish him off. You would have been better off sticking his butt in the Olympics. This makes absolutely no sense to me, Reggie. It makes absolutely no sense whatsoever. Just because he's from Venezuela? Seriously? He did not win, people. It's just like in the Olympics back in '84 when they took the opportunity from Evander. He knocked that guy down with a left hook, and the ref said, I was saying break when he threw the punch after I said break. But when you watch the film, the punch was traveling and the ref was saying break because the guy was trying to tie Evander up and he was punching out of the break, so the guy couldn't tie him up like you're supposed to do. Protect yourself at all times. They took the gold opportunity away from Evander. Got a bug crawling on my wall. They took the gold opportunity from Evander with that. And then in '88, what they did to Roy Jones Jr. Corruption. I don't know, man. It's just, we see it and we say, oh, well, that's boxing, or, you know how boxing is, just another bad black eye on the sport. No, we have to stop saying that, and we have to have the real conversations like what we're doing this evening. And I'm sorry for many of you who were out here and wanted to hear about the other fights, but I'm not apologizing for not talking about those other fights, because they can be spoken about at any time. But we really have to spend time on what's pertinent, what's important. And that is that we don't continue to see these young men robbed of their opportunity. I just did a video on Welcome to Black Murderers Row, 2021. And thanks to you all, that video is very popular. It's like it's a lot of rating on that that's very positive. And I pointed out the obvious. This was more the same and could go right in line with that. Because look at who Michael Fox was fighting. And he just lost to a Latin guy. In Santa Maria, right? In his last fight. But he comes back. And they said tonight, Reggie, that he actually was preparing for 6 different people before this guy. Or including this guy. This guy was the 6th guy. So it's like he had a redemption arc for his own personal career. He found a way to get the job done. He did his part. But at the end, they didn't pay him. They turned him away. They said, "Oh, the bank is closed." Somewhere tonight, that young man is highly upset. And see, we have a voice now. We as content creators, channel operators, we have all of this going. Instead of bickering with each other and talking about who that guy over there and this person over there and all of that, turn that focus where it needs to go. And turn the heat up on the corruption in boxing and people that run organizations like the WBA. And shit on fighters like Michael Fox. And all he was trying to do was be the best that he could be on this night. And he was. He was better than the other guy. But you're so hell-bent on having your countrymen who couldn't win a gold medal in 2 Olympics. Clarissa Shields was able to do it. But you're going to carve out a niche for him to become a champion. Regardless, by any means necessary. Even if it means cheating. Before and after the match. And you don't think we should take time out and talk about you? How disgusting you are? How irreverent your championship is? That belt? Your organization? Nah, we have to stand on something, bruh. We've been too much in the rocky seas out here. I see straight. I say full steam ahead because it's time for this corruption to end. And PBC's television analysts didn't want to say the things that they needed to say. Well, people come and see us by the hundreds and thousands. Okay? We can say it. And you don't think that's influential? 24/7, 365 with what we do? There is so much more than just the X's and O's. We also have to get to the cons and the pros. And right now, the WBA is on a hot seat. As I said earlier in the show, Reggie, this is one of the worst decisions I've ever seen. And we've seen some bad ones over the lifetime and over the years. I mean, I think about the big fights like Sweet Pea Whitaker and Julio Cesar Chavez, that being called a draw. Oscar De La Hoya getting a decision over Sweet Pea Whitaker when he couldn't even land a punch on him. You know what I mean? There have been horrible decisions. Horrible. But this one, and let's not mistake this. Michael Fox is not a high-profile fighter. He's not even a high-profile guy. So if they're going to do that to him, next go around is going to be your favorite fighter. Huh? When will it end? We really need to take count of these judges that were on that show tonight. I know we've talked about this before in the past, Reggie, but if you wouldn't mind, and you know, in a text or something, you can just send me those names, and I will record them, and I'll revisit the conversation talking about these judges that were there this evening and who committed this horrible act. When people talk about robberies, let me make no mistake here when I say this about robberies. There are fights and fighters who have lost close decisions. It's time to stop the misuse of terminology. Start using some intelligence behind what you say, people. Because someone that you preferred to win and didn't, that does not connotate a robbery. Okay? Just because the fight was close and it went to someone that you didn't think was as close, that doesn't connotate a robbery. What you saw tonight with Gabriel Maestro and Michael Fox, the decision that was made there was an absolute corrupt decision. The man was not even robbed. He wasn't considered for victory at all. And the scorecards spoke that. So that is more than a robbery. That's absolute corruption. This wasn't a splitting situation where it was razor thin. This was a situation where they wanted someone else to win. So if you don't have fair play, why participate? Seriously. Why? This is why we speak about certain fighters out there who have the power of influence. Utilize that power you have. You got a championship belt. You're representing or rocking with the WB whatever or the IB or whatever it may be. The champion makes the title. The title doesn't make the champion. Remember that. Do you have anything else you want to talk on, Reggie? Because I know we cooked for a while on this, and like I said, we can revisit the other fights at a later time and whatnot during another stream or something like that. But I just felt like for tonight, we really needed to speak up on this corrupted situation that we saw. And I can't stress it enough that even before the first bell, they were found to be cheating. And then when it went to the scorecards, they finished us off with the knockout blow. And if you guys don't see this, there's something tremendously wrong with that. And God help you, because they're just telling you they don't give a damn. Go ahead, Reg.
I think this is an appropriate thing to touch on rather than go into these other fights, because it's something that has to be addressed as always, is these judges identifying and pointing them out, because they become worse than what we don't get from fighters, and they add on to why fighters don't go into certain fights. Fighters think about these things. You go in here and just like someone was saying earlier, it's almost like when you're dealing with this level of favoritism and corruption in the sport, you almost got to go in there and go for a knockout. And they're saying that with Earl may have to go in there and knock out Manny Pacquiao. Hopefully Earl doesn't have to feel like that. Then he begins to abandon his game plan. Certain fighters feel like that, especially when there's a lot on the line where they have to overcommit themselves. They're boxers and be turned boxers, and where they have to become brawlers and knockout artists, going way up out of game plan because of what they fear if they continuously seeing this, or fighting people from certain countries and have a certain type of fanfare behind them. Same thing fighters probably think about when they go in the Canelo type fight. These are, and you're thinking of judges who side with this type of person. It's the thing that turned fighters away. And even with COLLAZO making in his kind of final thing about his retirement from the sport and what the sports puts you through. And tonight it showed with him stating that and other fighters feeling that way. You give your all to the sport and then have this type of stuff put in there upon you to steal from you. And imagine what this young fighter Fox got to feel like. The hell I'm doing this for? If I can go in here and box like that, what the hell I'm doing it for? So now I got to go in here and put myself at greater risk, being I got to take away from what I'm good at, to go in here and take risks to appeal to these sorry judges who ain't watching fights, are not respecting particular aspects of a fight. Now I got to go in here and do what I'm not accustomed to doing and what's not my strength. I mean, what the hell y'all doing to sport? And then even looking at it, I think you said this guy, Venezuelan, two-time champion, he fights for an interim champion. They almost push him like he a Lomachenko or something. 3 fights in, he fighting for some interim. What does that put him for? What is he, the next guy up for a title shot or something? What's going on with that? And how are they even fighting for interim titles? I don't get that. Interim title on the line. You got one guy come off a loss. Not to give it to him. He's come off a loss. Give it to this two-time challenger and Olympians and whatnot. It's all crap, man. All that crap. Storylines and all that stuff. They gave this guy the storyline victory. But it has to be addressed. And the scorecard is almost similar to what the judges were like in the Charlo Castano fight. But it's crap, man. All this stuff is crap, man. But that's all I got, OG. But this is a necessary thing to touch on rather than these other fights. Corruption in boxing. Two-time corruption in this damn event, in this one fight. But that's all I got.
Yeah, and I'm glad that you're supporting what I was saying on the significance of having this conversation, because let's just face it, Reggie, maybe, you know, with this show tonight, other people will be motivated as well to say their piece. I know some are going to say their piece anyway, but to really cook on this, to really put it out there, because when you remain silent or you just overlook it and be like, well, you know, that's boxing and this and that, this is why it happens like this. But this was so blatant that I think that they don't think people will care. No one outside of Michael Fox's supporters and fan group, or his people in his camp and entourage or whatever, trainers and whatnot, they're probably thinking that nobody outside of that will give much concern. No, man. I don't care if it's Michael or if it's someone who just turned pro, or if it's one of our most, coveted champions. It all stinks the same when you do this to the fighters. And since we have a platform, use it the right way. Pool Counter Boxing said, I thought the fight was a foregone conclusion. I made my video without watching the end because it was so one-sided. Yeah. So you made your video, but did you actually see the end eventually to speak about it on your video? Because if you did not, do a follow-up video, brother. Talk about it like we're talking about it. Let this hit those algorithms where they say, oh man, these people really don't like this. That's the beginning of change. He says, bro, Michael won every round, literally. You could definitely argue that. But you can't argue that Maestro won every round. By no means. If you're going to try to argue that, give me some of what you're drinking and I'll use it when I celebrate my upcoming birthday. Because I'm going to be out for the count drinking on that mess. Faith in the Cross says, this was decided well before that fight began. They didn't even try to hide it. It's one thing when you cheat during a close one, but damn, they didn't give a damn. Yeah. Isn't that something? So they're saying you at home watching in your living room, what you seeing, it don't matter. We just going to do it anyway. When is enough, man? Boli is out there, says, and now I am staying up late for Olympic boxing, which historically has horrific decisions. Yeah. C99 says, on national TV. Yeah. Faith in the Cross says, they really trying to play us, the true fans, as fools, man. Mm-hmm. Now, what you gonna do about it? You could write emails to the WBA. You could write emails to them. You could tell them how, unhappy you're with and the representation of their organization with these judges and the corruption that is blatant, that you could see honestly, that they're not even hiding. Now, one or two people send emails like that, they'll probably just discard them and, put them in the deleted trash. But when those emails like that start coming in the hundreds and thousands, because you look at this channel, this is a small channel. But we have some channels out there that has 100,000, members to the channel, subscribers, 70, 60,000 subscribers to the channel. If you could get just a portion, a fraction of those sub counts to send emails in, that's a whole mighty blow right there. the power of togetherness. Why don't you go ahead and give us some final thoughts on this, Reggie, and let everybody know where they can find you. By the way, I'll just mention that I was looking for you live and I couldn't find you. I didn't see you. I went to your channel and I don't know if I was on the right one or not, but it didn't say 2. It said, Boxing Conversation with Reggie Owens, but it didn't say you were live or anything. So that's why you didn't see me in your chat.
Oh yeah, because everybody been hitting me thinking that main channel got taken down because they ain't seen me on. I'm suspended. I'm suspended on that main channel. I got 1 more week of suspension on there. And I gotta play it straight, otherwise I lose that channel. But I got a backup channel. My backup channel is grown. I was on my backup channel, which is Boxing Conversation with Reggie Owens too. Man, I would say, I'm going to say a great post-fight and subject. I can't say a great night of boxing.
Right.
Being our main fight ended in a headbutt. It's the fact of addressing the necessary thing to address. That's open corruption in the sport. It's a sad thing to watch that crap, man. But it's necessary to judge it. And hopefully it doesn't occur in the Olympics with our American fighters that are up there. I put up a video earlier. I got to redo it because they pulled it, blocking it, because there was some corruption in the karate side of the Olympics. And I think it's the debut of the Olympics and the debut of karate in the Olympics. I don't know if you saw that. There's a black guy who was fighting out of Saudi Arabia. He wins a fight, knocking his opponent out, and they steal it from him. The goal went to the opponent who was knocked out in the fight. This is the type of crap that athletes got to go through. Yes, you got to see this. He knocks his opponent out. They steal it. Talking about he threw an illegal high kick, which landed right on the chin of his opponent, who was reaching forward, trying to throw a left cross out of a southpaw stance, leaning forward with the punches. The guy throws a kick. It looked like he's trying to go up under the ribs, but as the guy leaned forward, the kick went to his chin, knocking him out. It wasn't really a high kick. And he was dominating this match. And they take it away from him as the opponent he knocked the opponent out so bad, they had to stretcher the opponent out, flipping the reversal on this decision to give it to a guy out of Iran. These black athletes been dealing with all this crap throughout these dang Olympics. They can't wear their hair a certain way. They got to get drug tested on why certain levels are so high, why they running so fast, and blah, blah, blah. It's a constant, but you can't defeat us. At some point, clowns got to give it up. You can't beat us. Your athletes need to try harder. Stop water washing them through. Stop cutting things, making things so half-assed for them. Otherwise, they won't get better. But it's some crazy stuff. But it just shows you can't defeat us, and that's all the matter it is. But catch you guys on the next one, man. Another great topic on this one. Great, necessary topic.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. And like I said, for any other content creators out there that were listening in to this, man, please open up your microphones and your platforms to have a further discussion on this, because we can't allow them to continue to treat us this way. We can't allow them to continue to treat the fighters that we support this way. It is utterly disrespectful. It's biased, and it is unethical at the end of the day. And I'm telling you, man, it is not the thing that you want representing a sport that is an international sport, where you have people from all walks of life all over the world that come out and compete. So if you see this happening, you need to take solace in the fact that you do have a voice and say, hey, this will not stand, and do your part. So this is Stormy B Man. This has been the post-fight show with Stormy B Man. We got answering the bell tomorrow morning. 10:30 a.m. Central, and we'll be back to talk boxing, and we'll have a call-in open line show where we can discuss this matter as well as the other fights of the evening. But that's going to be it for this evening. Hope everybody can get some rest, and we'll catch you guys on the next one. We got more big fights coming up next weekend, so we will be ready. So we're going to sign off for now. Peace to everybody out there. Have a great evening. If you didn't smash the like button on your way in, please smash it on your way out. We're nearing 50 likes, so let's get them. Let's get over 50 and push it on through the roof so we can, have that great algorithm going. Man, this was one that it affected me tonight, people. I'm telling you, it really did, because I usually approach the post-fight show with enthusiasm, but tonight I just had utter disgust, and I don't like feeling like that because it's hard to get that off of me. Salute to T-Bone Boxing out there in that super chat. He says, that's why Spence working extra hard with Blu-ray. Man down. Thank you, T-Bone Boxing, for your donation to the channel and the show, man. We appreciate you coming out there to support us and supporting us with the super chat. But yeah, we're going to get on out of here. Peace to everybody. Have a great night, and we'll catch you guys on the next one.
Peace.